And when you look at the numbers, when you look at the popular vote from the last election to historical ones, and then this one that just took place, there's definitely something funky about those numbers. I mean, what was it, 80 million votes for the Democrats on the popular vote in the year 2020, when typically it's about 65 million. So that's a 15 million difference, you know, and that's one thing that Australia and America's systems are different in that sense, because in Australia, you're legally obligated to vote. Every adult over 18 needs to register, and you have to vote. And so it's much more transparent in that sense, right? Whereas here, you can vote or you cannot vote. The choice is yours. And so, you know, it's hard to say definitively because there aren't any laws in place that obligate everybody to vote. So who's to say that, oh, the Democratic Party was just energized, but so energized that an additional 15 million people voted? I mean, that's a little bit suspicious to me.
So I think most people in the United States, if you survey them, believe there was, and when I say most people, over 50% of the people feel that 2020, something was wrong. Extra votes came from somewhere. Do they definitively know where they were? But people can count. They're like, wait a minute, we go from 62 million to 80 million to 64 million. How? Right?
The math isn't
and
mathing.
So I think the 2024 election was well managed by people like Laura Trump, who drove very, very successful oversight efforts, as well as a battalion of lawyers to review situations in key states. And so there was so much review going on that it was to the benefit of the current election integrity. Mm-hmm. However, there still needs to be election integrity. Too many states don't require IDs. Mail-in ballots still have issues. I happen to think, and this is just Tom Ellsworth's opinion, that there's probably a percentage point of trickery that was in this election, because we saw certain things happening. We saw examples of an immigrant in Michigan with a ballot they received through the mail, and they attempted to vote, and it was cross-checked and stopped. Good news, it was cross-checked and stopped. Bad news, how in God's name did they get a ballot? Means that the front-end system isn't good. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question directly, there was less of it this election than there was in 2020, but there still is work to do to fully restore public trust that free and fair elections can take place. I'll give you another one. Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis and the Secretary of State were very, very sharp about controls. Florida had 99% of the votes tabulated, presented to media within 2.5 hours of the polls closing.
Wow.
And we called it a 14-point victory for Trump. Now remember, Florida is now one of the top 4 states in total population and votes, as the electoral votes, as what people around the world now understand. Each state has an electoral vote count, and that's really what elects our president. But all those votes in Florida, are you kidding me? And so we saw it on election night, and it's like, if you can get it done that quick, why can't you get it done that quick in Arizona? Why were we waiting a week for Maricopa County, even though it was very clear Trump had won the state?
Yeah.
Why? Why? With one third the ballot and only 3 major cities in Arizona.
Yeah.
Phoenix, Tucson, and Greater Flagstaff. That's it. 3 metropolitan areas and a lot of counties with sparsely, populated, like the Outback, very similar. So why does it take over a week for Arizona to count? 3 cities and some sparse people living in the outer areas. Florida can get all those votes, those millions and millions and millions of votes, one of the top 4 most populous states in the United States, done in 2.5 hours of the polls closing.